Lunchtime at Philip Howard Primary School in Hatfield. Pupils here come from a variety of backgrounds, but in the last year the number of children on free school meals has increased from 10 to 25%, and staff have noticed some pupils are arriving hungry.
They're tired, they're anxious, they can't concentrate, they find it hard to focus, and then actually starting the day and trying to learn on top of that becomes very difficult for them because they're too worried about their stomach being hungry.
And how is it for you as teachers to see that?
Oh, it's very distressing. Most teachers, even in the classrooms, they will always have extra snacks in their drawers for children. We've got teaching assistants and teachers that are pulling together clothes bundles for children and just discreetly passing them on. So it's across the board.
The school opened a food bank in reception just before the pandemic. It's become a vital lifeline.
The number of families using this food bank has more than doubled in the last 2 years. Today is the last day of term, but because of demand, this will be staying open throughout the summer.
Our exclusive survey asked head teachers how the cost of living crisis is affecting their school. Nearly 70% said they're considering cutting staff numbers or hours because of rising costs. 83% said more parents now ask for help with things like uniforms or equipment. And 80% had seen a rise in the number of pupils on free school meals, with a third worried about how to pay for them because food is getting more expensive.
I think ultimately what school leaders will always worry about is it having an impact on the pupils. If you end up having to cut curriculum resources, if you have to end up cutting back on the hours of your teaching assistants or your teachers, ultimately the worry is that has an impact on the quality of education.
At Philip Howard Primary, they swapped expensive school trips this year for camping in the playground. Anything to help parents who are all feeling the pinch.
My little girl is actually going to be moving up to year 3 in the new year, which means that I'm going to have to start making her lunches. I'm going to have to start paying for school meals. Maybe it could cost me an extra £500 a year.
The prices that are going up has meant that I've either had to cut back on things, think about how to, maybe save some food, freeze it instead. And actually I've taken on a second job recently as well.
How bad is this, do you think?
It's the worst. I've been head for 20 years. I've never seen it as bad as it is at the moment. And I think it's going to get worse this winter. And I'm really, really concerned about what's going to happen.
The government says it has increased school funding by £4 billion in the last year. But many schools are already struggling and are worried about how bad this is going to get.
And as you can see, Layla joins us now. So, Layla, some really tough words coming from the head teacher. They're taking some very desperate measures. What more has the government said?
Well, we asked the Department for Education if they could provide a minister to come on the programme and discuss this tonight. Unfortunately, they declined, but they did give us a statement. In it, they said they have expanded access to free school meals more than any other government in decades. And they say 1.9 million pupils now receive it. But the problem is schools have to contribute to the cost of free school meals, so it impacts their budget. The school I went to today, for example, next year, that will be £5,000 that they could have spent on something else. The government also says it has increased funding, but because of rising costs, many schools say, in reality, they have had a real terms funding cut. And the head teacher I spoke to today said that many working parents can no longer afford to pay their bills, and they're very, very worried about what is coming this winter.